know that you're in control and that what we do for you. So let you run things and just give us your wisdom, your words. And may those that are listening hear what you want them to hear. Pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
So, Robbie, last time we just pretended like the bump in played, right? Because we didn't hear it, so we just I'd say welcome to Masculine Journey and start.
Now we actually played it on the phone. I sent it to
Andy,
but you don't have to.
because he can just add it. How long is that time, that bump in? It's like 30 seconds?
No, it's like 17. Don't even worry about it. Just start,
Okay.
and he'll time pitch whatever.
Okay.
But you gotta click the thing.
Yeah, I gotta click the red button here. I'm just getting ready.
Once your throat's clear.
Well, it won't.
Yeah, you don't have to start the second you push the button.
No. Yeah, I know. You guys good?
Good.
All right. So you three are talking about your word, and if we need filler, you three need to think of some other stuff. Do you want to set up word of the year?
Okay.
Okay. I'll ask you to do it. All right. We'll get going. Let me get this started, and then I'll start the show. You'll know when I start. Welcome to Masculine Journey. We're glad that you're with us today. We are continuing talking about the word of the year, and so we're going to be able to continue with the people that haven't talked about their word yet, and not everybody in the group has a word quite yet, and that's where we learn to wait on God's timing. You know, we may have an agenda that we want to talk about, or we may have what a timeline we think it should be, but God gives us our timeline. His timeline is what really plays out when we're talking about word of the year. And so as we talk about word of the year, Danny, do you want to tell us a little bit more of what we're really talking about?
Well, what we're talking about is that toward the end of the year, we begin to pray and ask God to give us a word for the year that we can focus on. And as the year goes, we try to pray into that and see what kind of journey God takes us on with His word. And it is amazing because we've talked about it several times, and we do several shows a year on this, but where you think you're going to go and where you end up is usually totally opposite of what you think it's going to be.
Yeah, we probably do this topic almost as much as we do boot camp. Talking about boot camp.
Yeah.
Because I think Rodney, we were talking about at dinner earlier, that Rodney, you're saying that we do at least 6 shows a year, right?
We do now that we have a larger group in here. We have 3 shows at the start of the year, which we're doing now, mid-year, and then the year end, and then we're going to start the year again. So it's 3 every year, and now we have so many people, we do at least 2 shows.
Right.
And it works out really well.
Yeah. So we will continue on. And so, Michael, you actually have the first clip. This is your first clip ever, right? It's your first clip ever, and you're the first on the show. Wow. Yeah. You might as well retire now.
Yeah, I feel like I got promoted.
Yeah. So you want to tell us a little bit about your clip?
Sure. So my clip comes from the movie Evan Almighty. It's just a scene where Morgan Freeman, who's playing the role as God, he's talking with Evan's wife, and basically just explaining how you might ask God for things, but you might not get them in the way that you expect. You know, does God give you exactly what you want, or does He give you the opportunities to achieve those things? Yeah.
It's good.
And it really relates to my word of the year.
All right. So, Danny, you want to go ahead and play the clip, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Oh, excuse me. Can I get a refill, please?
Coming right up. Excuse me. Are you all right?
Yeah. No.
It's a long story. Well, I like stories. I'm considered a bit of a storyteller myself.
My husband. Have you heard of New York's Noah?
The guy who's building the ark.
That's him.
I love that story. Noah in the ark. You know, a lot of people miss the point of that story. They think it's about God's wrath and anger. They love it when God gets angry.
What is the story about then, the ark?
Well, I think it's a love story about believing in each other. You know, the animals showed up in pairs. There's stood by each other, side by side, just like Noah and his family. Everybody entered the ark, side by side.
But my husband says God told him to do it. What do you do with that?
Sounds like an opportunity. Let me ask you something. If someone prays for patience, you think God gives them patience? Or does he give them the opportunity to be patient? If it prays for courage, does God give them courage, or does he give them opportunity to be courageous? If someone prayed for the family to be closer, do you think God's absent with warm, fuzzy feelings? Or does he give them opportunities to love each other? I got one. A lot of people to serve. Enjoy.
It's such a good clip in so many ways, because I know for me, as I listen to that, and I know you're going to talk about your clip, but, as I listen to that, I just think about not being careful about what I pray for, but being intentional about what I pray for.
Good word.
Yeah, we may revisit that at some point. Because God honors, those prayers. And when you pray for patience, you're like, oh, do I have the stamina for all these things that are going to require patience? And so it makes you really think about how you pray as you go to him. Michael, that was your clip. And so what's your word this year?
So my word was actually service.
Okay.
I feel people have been helping me throughout, obviously, my entire life. This year especially, I feel that God's calling me to somehow give back that service, not just to people or the people around me that have always helped me, but to myself, and most importantly to God himself. And obviously I don't know exactly where this word will take me throughout the year. It really stood out to me that that's what he wanted from me. It's just to help those around me, and then also to please him.
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, if you're able to tell us, how did you know that this was the word that God gave you?
Well, I did a lot of praying, but it was also just evident in my life, especially the things that I've been going through lately, and everyone around me. Like I said, they always help me. So I just feel this calling that he's just pulling me to give anything I can, to just help anyone who needs it.
That's good.
It just kind of showed up.
Yeah, that's really good. Go ahead, Harold. You want to say something?
I can attest to the fact that he's in on service. My sweetheart had reached the point where she didn't want me driving at night anymore. Michael has jumped in, and Art was helping there for a while, and then Michael came in, driving me over here so I get to continue to be a part of the group on Tuesday evenings for our recordings. Otherwise, I would either be making my sweetheart mad at me, or I wouldn't be a part of this. And both are things I really want. So Michael is of great service to us. He recently drove us to Florida and back so that we could visit with Jan's brother's family down there. Here again, she thinks I can't handle the drive of that duration, and she's probably right. But anyway, Michael did the driving for us, and it was great. So he's already doing his service.
Good.
Harold, did you notice, and Harold is sitting just to the left of Michael, did you notice he looked at you when he talked about serving those around him?
Well, he's doing a great job for us, so we really appreciate it.
So, Michael, you said something about you really don't know where this word's going to take you this year. You're at a very good spot.
That's true.
Because all of us that have really thought we knew where the word was going to go, yeah, it may touch on that. God has a sense of humor. He may throw us a bone a little bit and let us have a little bit of that, but he has a plan and an intention for that word, and so he's going to take it in a lot of different directions. So it's exciting to hear. For me, it's nervousness, but excited nervousness of where God's going to take it that year with the word.
That's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah.
But this could be a sequel to a movie. You know that, right? Driving Mr. Harold instead of driving Miss Daisy.
That's true.
Driving crazy.
Well, Jim, we're glad to have you back. It seems like I don't know, months since you've been here. I don't even know how long it was that you were gone.
We left Christmas Day
Okay.
and we got back last week, so it's a little better than 3 weeks.
Okay. It seemed a lot longer.
Well, I'm such a wonderful person to have around. You really miss me when I'm gone, so I appreciate
It could be that too. Maybe. Or it could be,
It's your modesty that attracts us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah, it's absolutely that. We're kind of at a weird space on time. We don't have enough time to get another clip in before the break. And so we just need to continue to talk a little bit about Word of the Year. And so, Rodney, I know you don't have a Word of the Year this year yet, but that shouldn't be concerning if it's the first few weeks of the month of the year. You still don't have one, right?
It shouldn't be, but I've always, every time I've went off to pray and ask for a word, it's usually come pretty easily. This year I've prayed a few times. I've tried to go get one. There's been times when I haven't prayed because I forgot all about it. And last year was one of the worst times I've ever had with a word and what I did or didn't do with it, because I just kind of left it behind. And I got sick in August. I didn't really get sick. I got taken to the hospital. I wasn't even sick. It was just, oh, you need to go. And I, what? So I got taken to the hospital, told, hey, you're going to take all these tests. The next thing I know, I'm in the middle of all that. So then I look at my word to vote, and I'm like, oh, man, it's so applicable to all this stuff I just went through. And that's where I'm asking God, do I stay with that word because I didn't really do as much, or do I go somewhere? And this is the first time I've never gotten a new word. So I may be staying with my old word. I may be going to a new word. I really don't know where I'm at. So I'm just kind of trying to pray through it.
Yeah, we have a timeline. But like I said, God has his.
Yep.
It's funny you said that, because as I was praying about it back in December, God gave me 2 words.
Uh-oh.
Not yet.
One of them I really liked, and the other one I said, well, if I use that one, I'm sort of stealing it from a good friend, because he uses it a lot. And in between the weeks since those were given to me, and I thought at the time, I need to write both of these down. Well, I said, I don't need to write that one down. I'm not going to forget it. And I'll not forget that one either, because it's such a great word. Well, that great word is now gone. So I went with the other word, which I presume is the one God wanted me to have. So if I think of what that word is, it might be yours, and I just had to throw it back in the pot.
Yeah, he hasn't told me anything yet.
Wasn't memory?
Memory is
Remember? You get that in the
not
word?
something.
Not ringing a bell?
That is a gift I've never really had, and it's getting to be less. But I always considered myself as a computer of having a exceptional processor and about 6K of RAM.
Yeah, that is
Whatever that means.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Well, actually, storage. How's that? That's a better word
Okay.
for it anyway.
Okay. Well, we got about a minute left. Anyone else want to add anything about Word of the Year? I know I'm excited about. I already know that at the end of the year I'm going to be sad to get rid of it. You know, that's the whole thing. Is I don't know where it's going to go, but I do know the consistent thing will be, as it's been the last several years. I don't want to get rid of the word at the end of the year. And as Robbie very well said, you never really get rid of them. They just stick with you, right? There's something that changes with you. They say that you have to do something so many times before it becomes a habit. When you spend a year on a word, it's ingrained in you in a way that it never was before, right? And so I think that's really cool that God has a way of just building upon our faith in so many different ways. And so we're going to talk more about it after the break, and we'll get to hear Harold's Word of the Year. But go to masculinejourney.org to look for anything that we have coming up. We don't have anything quite yet, but we will soon. We'll talk with you after the break. So we can start again here whenever we want. We don't have to wait the whole minute. It's just easier for me if we wait a minute. So then I can know when to stop at 27.
Oh, I think it's much easier when you have the time right over there.
Yeah, it's.
Probably better off to play Well, yeah, just wait a minute.
Yeah, wait a minute. I'll cue you when it's time to play the
Playing the
bone.
book?
We're playing the bone.
Okay.
Which
Get the
is in
bump
about
ready.
30 seconds.
Yeah, I'll tell you when to go.
You didn't have the bump ready? What are you?
Come on,
I
man.
said we weren't gonna play it.
I didn't hear that. Don't listen to
I
it.
don't think you're listening, Danny. Maybe your word should be listened next year.
You say something?
Exactly.
Huh?
He said listen next year. He
Yeah,
said
you'll have to listen this year.
That's right.
We got about 8 seconds. There you go. I'll get ready to key you in here in a second. Oh, I gotta get my part ready. Welcome back to Masculine Journey, and that was a different bump for us. I get that, and honestly, as you listen to that, I still struggle to understand what it says. You know, even though I have the words here in front of me, and that was the group Queen. And what surprised me about the group Queen, I would not really think, and I'm not being judgmental here, but well, I guess I am. You would not think that they'd be singing a song about father and son in a way that sounds very Christian oriented. Right? I mean, you think of Queen and they have some great music. That would just not be what you would think of with them. But the part of the song that I played there, it's from a song called Father and Son. And he sings, "A word in your ear from father to son. Hear the word that I say. I fought with you, fought on your side, long before you were born." So, okay, who's fighting on our side long before we're born? And who has a word from father to son? Right? Joyful the sound, the word goes around, and then the rest of it goes on for the chorus from father to son to son. And so I don't know that that's about God. I just don't know what else it could be except
That's
about
how
God.
you end up. We are the champions
That's true.
of the world.
Yeah, yeah. All right, that's fair. You got that. Thank you, Rob. We appreciate that. So up next, Harold, we have a word of the year from you.
Yeah.
Was that your
That's
bones or was
that's
that
the squeaky corner over there. Only old guys.
I know I'm old, but I don't squeak like that.
Okay. Oil can. I wasn't really sure what you needed there, Timmy.
Squirt me with the oil can. Yeah, I do have a word this time. I was really kind of tickled because there's been a time or two in the past that I searched for one and just never felt like that it really came. And I didn't want to arbitrarily pick one. As a self-appointed poet, I like words and I like to play with words. But I didn't think that word of the year was something that was subject to my choice. I wanted it to be God's choice. And so he gave me one, and if you are one of those people that thinks God does not have a sense of humor, I got news for you. You're wrong, because he does. My word for this year is smell. And if you don't realize how funny that is, it's because you don't understand. I can't smell anything anymore, or rarely smell anything anymore. And so for me to have the word smell, I'm interested in seeing where all that's going to go. I know that, the sacrifices were characterized as a sweet smelling savor to the Lord, and there are a lot of uses of the word smell. So I'm just really anxious to experience it. Now the clip that I've got is sort of a default. When I was Googling around trying to find a movie clip for the word smell, most everything that came up would not be suitable for our broadcast. So I found this one, and I picked it more because of an expression used in it than anything else. I haven't seen the movie. It's from a movie called Perfume, and the storyline is trying to develop all these exotic, wonderful smelling perfumes, and the guy gets into a mess. in this particular scene, it's really dark. You can't, at least when I was looking at it, you really can't pick out a whole lot. But apparently, this guy is there with a young lady. We think she may be blind because she keeps saying hello and whatever. He seems to be sniffing and trying to smell. And then the sort of the final scene is that he's actually gone out in the rain and he's trying to wash his arms and stuff in the rainwater. So play the clip and I'll have some more things to say about smell.
After a while, he almost forgot his plans and obsessions. And indeed, might have done so altogether. Hello? 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 There were 1,000 smells in his clothes. The smell of sand, stone, moss, even the smell of the sausage he'd eaten weeks ago. Only one smell was not there. His own. For the first time in his life, Grunoy realized that he had no smell of his own. He realized that all his life he had been a nobody to everyone. What he now felt was the fear of his own oblivion. It was as though he did not exist.
Interesting. When I was a young boy, young child, my father worked away on construction work and would be gone sometimes 2 or 3 weeks or whatever before I would see him again. And I would always insist that he sleep in the bed that I slept in. And then I didn't want him to wash the pillowcase because my dad used a particular hairdressing that had a particular smell. And so I would lay in the bed and I could smell my father's smell. And smell brings up memories stronger than most anything else. I've read that it's even stronger than sight as far as memories. And when I was engaged to my sweetheart, I had joined the Air National Guard, and I went off for 8 weeks to basic training out in San Antonio, Texas. That 8 weeks seemed like 80 years at the time. But one of the things that was really good for me is that she wrote me. I got more mail than anybody else in the flight. And she would put a drop of her perfume on that letter. And I would get in the evening when we had our free time, I'd get my latest letter out, prop my feet up in the window, and I'd start to read the letter. And I would periodically take and sniff. And it was really a strong attachment. So that's why I say it's so ironic that God would give me smell as my word for the year, since I no longer can really enjoy that kind of thing like I once did. Now, whether that's just the fact of being 83 years old, or if it's perhaps one of the signs of Parkinson's, I have some others, so I'm afraid that may be it. But regardless of what the cause is, it's something that I miss.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, we take things for granted, never thinking that we're going to lose them. And when we do it, it's like, whoa, where'd that go? I want it back. But anyway, smell. There's a great little book that was written about elders in the church, and it's called They Smell Like Sheep. And it has to do with the fact that if you're going to be a true shepherd, you're going to have to be with that flock, and you're going to have to be in with them, and you're going to get their smell on you. And I thought that was a great little book, and I forget now the author's name because it's been quite a while ago that I read it. They smell like sheep, and so you might say that I stink, but I don't smell.
You know, I love that word, Harold. And talking about words, I give a shout out to my brother. I was talking to him this morning, and he actually has a word for the year, we think.
Nice.
He has become a recent listener to us. I guess he was just bored. And he's, you know, doing some things. He started a ministry at his church called Fire, and kind of similar to some of the stuff we talked about around here. But, you know, he was talking about the word consistency, for being consistent. And he kept saying it over there. I said, is that your word for the year? He said, I guess it is. But so, you know, shout out to my brother Tracy, who's, you know, been walking with the Lord for a long time, but you know, he's just as passionate now as he ever was. And just watching him take off in some sort of ministry and stuff like that, or just a ministry with people. So.
Yeah, that's good. I'm excited that, you know, he's on that journey. To be interested to see how that plays out this year. You know, hopefully he'll keep you. I'm sure he'll keep you updated and keep us updated. Be good to know. Harold, you were talking about how smell is so powerful. You know, and it is. Around my house, you know, here in North Carolina, I was excited to find out that you could actually grow lilacs in this part of North Carolina. You can't grow it any further south than the Triad. And why that's important, growing up as a kid, there's a huge lilac bush right outside my window, you know, and I mean, it was quite huge. But, you know, just the smell in the spring always reminds me of home. And so I love, you know, being here, and I love living in North Carolina, you know, but one of my favorite things in the spring is when the lilacs are blooming is to open up my windows. It's a nice spring day and let that smell come in, because it reminds me of growing up in Indiana. It brings back memories of my mother, memories of my siblings, you know, as a kid. Just lots of things that a smell will take you instantly, you know, right back to a place, you know, which is pretty neat. You know, you can walk into a room and you can smell something and you can go, oh, this reminds me, and your memory is just flooded. And so I think it's so cool how that works. And so I'm interested to see how that plays out for the year. You know, in your clip, he talked about you know, he could smell the sausage that he had 2 weeks ago. So obviously detergent was not one of the smells anywhere in there. But we're finishing up this show. We'd like for you to go to masculinejourney.org. If you'd like to reach out to any of us, you could put Rodney at Masculine Journey or Jim at Masculine Journey, any of our first names. That would be our emails, and reach out to us. And we'll talk with you next week. Let God love you this week.
You just keep running. Oh, no, I'll save that.
Yeah, you want to save that one.
Yeah, we can't do that again.
Out of all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most. I stole that.
It doesn't miss you.
Shelton, it's snowing this time.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's not supposed to snow down here, according to all the forecasts I've been looking at.
My phone says
No, it's south of here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
at
south
Dakota.
of-
Oh,
now in Nashville, Pearl, they sent me lots of.
So where is she at, by the way?
She's in King. Yeah, you can.
She's in King, okay.
But even the current forecast isn't calling for precipitation.
That's when you get the most.
I don't remember where we were, but Carolyn was looking at a weather report and said it's supposed to start raining in 25 minutes. Look outside, it's pouring rain.
No rain forecasted. Yeah.
the TV lady was saying that any precip that was starting wouldn't reach the ground because the air was so dry. It was good.
That does happen.
Now, the reason I was wanting to know if it was going to snow or rain or anything, freezing rain, is we're supposed to be open tomorrow at the Hope Center. And so, we had to close a couple times after this last snow just because, around our building it's shaded, and our clients, we're on the thing. It's a very hard way to get around there. And if it's icy, it's not easy for anyone to get around.
It's better to keep these lower than it is to be hotter. He can adjust them up. He can't adjust them down if they go, if they see what have you.
The what have you?
DVDs.
All right, so on this show, what's different about this one, normally we go a set amount of time, but with it being after hours, it's not a radio show. So it doesn't matter. So
They can go shorter too.
that's
If
what
we
I'm
run
saying,
out of content,
which we probably will, because we've all talked about our words except for you.
Well, you said that half an hour ago.
I can take an hour.
Well, it's a half hour, but yeah.
I can take
All right.
an hour.
if you're ready.
Welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. We are continuing to talk about our word of the year this year, and we are glad that you're with us. But what we really hope that you'll do is continue to listen. But beside that, invest some time with God and ask about a word of the year for yourself. That's part of why we talk about it so much. One is to share what we've learned, but also to encourage you to say, this is a really cool way to get a deeper intimacy with God. Right? It's different than reading your Bible. And of course, you always read your Bible, right? That's the first thing. It's different than prayer. And of course, you always pray, right? You should be doing those things. But this is just something that you can do to even get into a deeper intimacy in a way that you can't do in any other way, is to say, okay, God, I trust you with this word and lead me through it this year. And it's been amazing in our life, and we'll talk more about it. But Jim, welcome back. We said that last show. We're glad to have you back. But this is your first clip of 2025.
It is. And being the word of the year, I guess that's kind of appropriate. Huh?
Yeah. True.
The word of the year we've been doing on the show for quite a while, and I had actually been introduced to that a couple of years before, and you were talking about remembering your words. And back when I had an office, I had all of the years and my word of my life, which was chesed, and I can still say it in Hebrew more or less, and that's love, which is my overarching desire for my life, is to reflect God's love to others. But words of the year I've struggled with from time to time. Last year's word was also the previous year's word, and it was integrity. I guess I needed extra time with that one, but and I don't think I told this on the air. We're talking separately, but in December, I was praying about my word before we left, and I got two. And one of them, I was thinking, well, I'd rather not be that one. I'd sort of be stealing from a friend. And I just finished integrity, so stealing from a friend would be a bad thing, right? But the other word, I said, oh, this is a great word. It was sort of my choice. And so doing what I usually do when I think, I should write this down, I didn't. And come to looking at the word of the year 2 days ago, I had no clue what the word was that I really liked. So I figured that was God choosing my word, which is intentional. And to sort of set up my clip, there are a few of us, or at least a couple of us, that love Outlaw Josie Wales. If you haven't seen it, shame on you, and don't tell us. We might force you to sit down and watch it with us one more time. But this is a mixed clip. It's very close to it is the beginning of the movie, and then it's getting towards the end. And we see Josie Wales, the farmer, with his kid and wife and farm, and they are raided by Redlegs, which were folks that were from Kansas. And this was during the Civil War, and there was nothing civil about it. But Missouri and Kansas had their own little private war going on and would raid each other. And he was from Missouri, and he got hit by the Redlegs, and they killed his wife and child. And when this clip starts, he is just cried over them, prayed over them, buried them, and then falls over, kind of knocking down the cross that he made to mark the grave. And then it has some riders ride up, and that's where we pick up this clip and talk more about it afterwards.
Name's Anderson. Frank knows what they call me. Redlegs. Learned them up in Kansas. And with the Union, we went up there and set things right. How they come away? I figured this right. We're facing the sun. This ought to give him an edge. What the hell was he want? Looks like a parlay. He's just gonna sit there all day, go back and see what he wants. Get ready, little lady. Now let's come into breakfast.
Mighty nice horse you got there, mister. Would you sell it?
We'll give you a good price. Now, speak. Just get off the horse.
And that gunfire was the first 4 bandits that went down. What is happening here is you hear, Chief Dan George, we'll call him that, but that's his real name, not his name in there, but he was a Waddy and a Cherokee chief, and he has kind of attached himself to Josie Wales along with a dog and a few other strays he's picked up on the way. And he's trying to reject them the whole time, but he really is protective of his little band. And one of them is the chief, who is tied to the back of the wagon along with Granny, and they are being dragged to be sold to another tribe. And these are 12 guys that are just and their word Comancheros, and they're not headed for anything wonderful. And Josie's by himself and rides up with the sun behind him, which the chief has mentioned, and spits, which he does a lot of, usually at the dog, but it's he's very intentional in setting up the way he's going to go in to free him or die trying. And he does get 11 of the 12, and one more of the followers gets the last one as he's running away. And so the party's saved, and the whole group is now attached to Josie, and he is trying very hard just to escape his life, but he is intentionally setting out to help those that are around him that need his protection. And I kind of like that, and as previously expressed, I love the movie. And it is one that I threatened Sam with trying to have the entire movie being intentional about getting the whole movie on the show this year, but I probably will back off of that one.
Well, one way or another, I just not play them.
Well, that has happened on occasion. I've wandered into the last show, wondering if we'll get to me. I'll have 30 seconds or so.
Well, you had plenty of time on this one.
No, this is, I can keep talking, I'm told, but I'll quit now and let some others jump in. But intentionality for all of us is important, and it's a good adjective to attach to whatever your word is. And I want to intentionally love. I want to intentionally serve. I really like your word. I don't want to intentionally smell, but I don't mind
You might. It's a
smelling nice
really good
things.
smell, yeah.
I don't want to intentionally stink. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
And we've really been through a lot of things together, and enjoying each other's words is really an important thing too.
Absolutely.
We have ours, and God works with us, but we see others growing.
So I heard this in an interview I did recently, and I love it. It's simply when I want to apply it to your word to see how that fits in is, we don't pray to get stuff from God. We pray to get with God. Right. And so as I think about the word intentional, Josie Wales was a loner.
He definitely was, and he tried very hard to be, but.
And so, that's my, that would be immediately my challenge. Although you know me well enough to know one of the most things I try to be intentional is like, okay, I want to do this, whether it's catching a fish or, shooting a deer or, preaching to a congregation, I want to do it with God. And that's an interesting aspect of intentionality that I wonder if that's something you feel like you're going to incorporate or.
That's one of the most important parts of it. And I've seen enough in life that I know when I pray for something that what I'm praying for may have very little to do with what is going to happen. I cringe when I hear name it, claim it, and even when I hear, well, you want to heal this person completely. Well, whenever I hear that, I say, okay, that's going home. I've got lots of healing that would be wonderful to have, but as we get older, Harold, there's certain things you don't expect to get better until we get home.
And if you were trying to smell like a sheep, which is bad, and it might be good you don't have this message. Just saying, I'm waiting for 2 shows to say that. So just now got a mind.
Maybe we should wait at 3. The after hour.
Oh, bad. Yeah, I guess.
The intentionality for me in that is when I'm praying, my intention is spending time with God, not getting what I think I want, because what I want may be the last thing God wants for me. And I want to get his best, not what I think is best for me. And that's a hard lesson to learn. If you haven't yet, jump on it now, because it'll save you a lot of pain. But
there, prayer,
Bible reading, all the things that we are quote unquote supposed to do don't mean a thing if it's not an intentional time spent with God.
If you don't have that zing. So anyway,
you know that commercial back there, remember?
Yeah. When you said, that your word of life, or how you want to put that, is hesed, and which you interpret as meaning love, which I would interpret, it's at the end of the
Yeah.
23rd Psalm, surely goodness and hesed will follow me all the days of my life. And so a lot of people would interpret that word as mercy because love in Hebrew's got a lot of different ways you can describe it. But hesed has a unique quality in it, in that the middle letter, which you can hear as an S sound, right, is the letter Samic, which requires complete support. Like, it is such a powerful entity. It's best described as gravity, right? Which that requires God. Like, for me to give somebody hesed, thank you for playing, I'm not God. Right? So, but the neat thing about that, as we talked about, is that if my intentionality is to get God involved in the love, then I have a shot at hesed, right? But otherwise,
You don't have it without it.
right. And you don't have,
And
apart from me, you can do what?
absolutely not. That's Jim's.
Right. So I'm intrigued as always I'm intrigued by everybody's. It ain't. And I was thinking about Mike's being served, right? And the greatest among you will be the servant of you all, right? But by the same token, I look at that word quite often because there's a level of humility in it, and it also is connected to a whole lot of other words in Hebrew. And the significant part of the word serve or servant is an idea of catching God's vision. Because really, if you're not serving God in whatever it is that you're serving, you ain't really, again, being intentional. And so I think that too is like, man, what a cool thing to push into for a year, to see, okay, where am I serving myself? Where am I serving my family? Where am I, serving? It's just a lot of opportunities. So, I really love you guys' words, and I am excited as always to see where God, takes you in experiential, especially, Harold is one of the most intriguing little stinker.
I smell a rat.
Yeah, I remember when Harold got the word happening.
Right?
Remember?
I do.
It was 2020, was it not?
I think so, yeah.
And that's when nothing was happening for a long time. But it was everything that, you never know what God's going to unfold with it. Right? You got that word happening, and it was quite a happening year, honestly. There was a lot going on just for society in general and for us and everything else. It was very happening. So that was a big one.
And
very hip. Almost 80-year-old.
You can't help but see that was one of Satan's big power plays in our generation through COVID. One of the immediate things was it took away your smell, and with your smell went your taste, right? And what Harold had described when he started to say, that the smell is something immediately evokes a memory. Well, anybody who's ever been to boot camp knows that there is a smell associated with Carolina Bible Camp. I mean, this is like the second you walk into that hall, it smells like boot camp.
I thought you were talking about the cows out back.
Well, those two, if you happen to be downwind of the pasture. But now I'm just talking about if you walk into that hall, there's a smell, and man, I always love to walk into that hall and go, it smells like boot camp. Right? Well, fascinatingly, if you go in the top door at Truth Broadcasting, and I come in here Saturday morning to do my shows, and there's a hint of boot camp in the smell when you walk into Truth. I don't know what it is, but it never ceases to amaze me as I come in the door like boot camp. And there's such a joy, that comes with that you're right. I hadn't really thought about how much smell is connected to memory.
And you had something to add?
It's like going to Robbie's church. You get a fresh smell of incense when you walk in.
Yeah. I've heard about that.
That was insensitive, Danny.
I was
That was very
insensitive, wasn't it? Yeah.
So, question for you. I always like to ask some questions. Do you have a favorite word over the years that God's given you? Have they all been your favorite? I'll let you think about that for a minute. Initially, when I was pondering the question myself, I was going to say, oh, there's not a favorite word for me. Because I've enjoyed them all. But honestly, there was a favorite word, and I talked about it a few weeks ago, but it's the word family when he gave it to me. And I really, really poured into it, not knowing that my brother was going to pass away later that year. And all the times that I had conversations with him, going down to he and his wife's 50th anniversary, it just, all the pouring into family, I will never regret that time. And it changed me forever. I've always been family oriented, but that year was just different. I could really feel God say, every time your family asks you something, say yes. And so I did lots of things and traveled and, hung out with family a lot and tried to just always say yes to family first. And I'm very grateful for that year. And I'm grateful for the changes that it made in relationships, the deepening of it over that time. And so each word's been special, but for me, that's probably the most special to date. Anyone else have anything?
Yeah, 3 years ago, the camera goes down. Whoa. And interestingly, that disconnected the camera somehow. Anyway, 3 years ago,